Hey y'all, I guess I needed to add myself to the stream today. I'm lagging behind a little bit. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day today. Thank y'all so much for joining me. We've got another great show for y'all today. I have Dr. John Stamey here in the studio today. We're going to be talking about amphibious inhumanoids. Okay, so not to rehash my entire show that I did before. We talked about the Loveland Frogman a while back with a text from Texas Front Porch. I have remote viewed the Loveland Frogmen actually, and because there's more than one, y'all. Okay, and we had a really good time doing that. Well, Dr. Stamey is having a conference in March for the Loveland Frogman conference, and so he's here to talk about that today. And we're gonna get into this amphibious inhumanoid today. Like I said, it's gonna be a lot of fun. So I hope all y'all are having a great holiday. I know some of y'all are already off work and the kids are out of school. I am still running a sale in my shop. I know it's a little late to be buying Christmas gifts and stuff, but I just got some orders in this morning, so I'm getting those out. I've already got most of them out today, and so if anybody else is interested in grabbing a gift, I'm still having a holiday sale. War Woman Goods on Etsy, and also you can grab some stuff off my website. I do have some items there. I also have gift certificates available for, I do personal private oracle and tarot card readings, and those are a lot of fun. I have a lot of great feedback from those. So if you're looking for a last minute gift, you guys can go to my shop, go to the shop link. It's all over my social media right now. Just click the link and you can purchase a gift certificate for your loved one. It makes a great gift, actually. And they can book with me whenever they want at their convenience. Okay. And so, yeah, for all y'all last minute shoppers, don't go do that. Okay. Okay. So today we have John Stamey with us. And John is totally immersed in the paranormal. Okay, he's been interested in the paranormal his entire life. He's an author as well as the organizer of Comic-Cons all over the country, actually, as well as Bigfoot and Lizard Man festivals. He co-hosts Scary Cast, which I was on there last night hanging out with him and Matthew Delph and their crew. It's a weekly podcast on Blog Talk Radio. He's published several books, including Bigfoot Explorers, An Introduction to Hominology, Look Up in the Sky, Aliens, UFOs, and Anomalies, and Lizard Man, Bigfoot, and Friends. And I just love having Dr. John here. The last time he was here, we talked about Project Pegasus and the time travel technology that our government may or may not have. Okay, so please help me welcome to A Glitch in the Matrix today, Mr. Dr. John Stamey. Hey, John.
Hello, hello. How are you doing? It's great to be here, Jessica.
Oh, well, thank you. I am so glad to have you back. It's always a pleasure having conversations with you because you are so knowledgeable in so many things.
Well, thank you very much. It's just great to be here. You're such a wonderful friend, and we've got a lot of friends in common, and we do a lot of things with them. I know that you're buddies with Matthew Delph, and you go out in the field with him, and Trey Hudson, and all kinds of cool people.
Oh yeah, well we're all on a team together actually. So we go out pretty often. When I'm out in the field, I'm usually with them. So we've spent a lot of really scary nights together out in the middle of nowhere, chasing Bigfoot. Yeah.
So that's what Scary Cast is about. Just teasing.
It is.
Scary
It
night.
is. Yeah. Well, you have a new Comic-Con coming up, a new conference on the Loveland Frogman. Why don't you tell me a little bit about that?
We sure do. Let me tell you how it got started, because I think that's part of the interesting part of the Frogman Festival, which is going to be in Cincinnati, Ohio. It's going to be March 4th this year on a Saturday at the Great Wolf Lodge. And here's what happened. I of course was on William Shatner's Unexplained a while back. That was in June. And then the end of June, I was at the Withville UFO Festival. It was a lot of fun. And I was there with my buddy Logan Gardner, who has a wonderful UFO story that's chronicled in my book, Look Up in the Sky, UFOs, Aliens, and Anomalies. That's the 3rd edition. So anyway, we're there, and I said, well, I want to go around and meet some of the vendors. He said, sure. So I said, you were in charge of the table. And so I got up and went around, and there was this really big booth area with five tables. And they were doing this thing. And that was the last one that I went to. They were doing this thing called the Map in Black. And it was Jeff Craig from Cincinnati. And so what Jeff had was he has like a 4-foot by 3-foot glossy map that has little icons where all of the paranormal incidences that he could fit on there are there where they happen. So I thought it was great, and I looked at it and I said, now, by the way, Jeff, I'm John Stamey, and I have the podcast Scary Cast, and I'm a vendor right up there. And he kind of like froze, and he stared at me, and I thought to myself, well, what's wrong? And he looked at me and said, didn't I see you last night on the History Channel? I said, yeah, you did, actually. I was on Unexplained with William Shatner. He said, oh, my God, this is great. So he jerked me around behind his table and took a selfie with me. It was great. I mean, I've never had that thing happen. So anyway, he said, well, this is really cool. And you said that you run Comic-Cons and festivals, and you run the Georgia Bigfoot Conference. I said, absolutely. He said, well, I was getting ready to take an idea to the Cincinnati, what do they call them up there? Well, it's like the county council up there in Cincinnati. Mm-hmm. And he said, I was going to take this idea to them and see if they wanted to help me run the Loveland Frogman Festival. My first comment was, you mean there's no Loveland Frogman Festival? He said, no, there's not. I said, well, now hold on a minute. Let me explain something to you. Now, Jessica, can I be a little bit on the dark and stormy night side here?
Absolutely.
Okay, I said, if you're going to do something with a city, like a festival, one of two things is going to happen. Either it's going to fail because they're not going to do anything, or it's going to be very successful, and they are going to try to take it away from you. Why don't you just do it yourself, and why don't you do it with me? Stuck out his hand, shook my hand, and the deal was done. We are equal partners in the Loveland Frogman Festival, and it was great. and we talked. We've been talking ever since. He's a great guy. He's a cartographer for Cincinnati Bell, which means he does maps.
Yeah.
And then he also goes to a lot. That's why he did the Map in Black. But then he also goes around to a number of Comic-Cons and paranormal events in the Midwest. And so he has a great time doing that and selling the Map in Black. So anyway, he's been going around getting vendors, and we've been talking about it. In fact, we had a little meeting last night on the phone to kind of figure out what we were going to do, what I was going to do this weekend, because I'm in charge of the website and everything. So we had, a lot of good discussions, and the Loveland Frogman Festival is going to be going on. It's going to be strong in Cincinnati, Ohio at the Great Wolf Lodge. And that's going to be March the 3rd, Saturday.
All right. Well, I think he came across the right person for a conference, because my goodness, you throw every different type of conference, Comic-Cons, Bigfoot conferences. I was actually honored enough to be asked to speak at your Bigfoot conference in Georgia this past, I think it was in May. And I met so many great people there and had so much fun.
Right. And in fact, as you know, you were invited back again this year. I'm trying to work out the location. We've got a few problems because the administration really has changed there in Clayton, Georgia. So we're just trying to get everything worked out. And I anticipate we'll have it done by the first of the year. And we're looking at the middle of April this year. We want to get it a little pushed back a little bit so the weather's cool and everything. And I think that's going to be for the best. So anyway, that's what we got going on there. And we've got, I've got the Jacksonville, North Carolina Comic-Con coming on February the 18th in Jacksonville, North Carolina, up there with 100,000 Marines at Camp Lejeune. So that's going to be a lot of fun. I always like to support our armed forces and what they do to help keep us safe. And I don't mind saying that. And if anyone doesn't agree with me, let them not agree. But our armed forces are the reason that we are not under the tyrannical rule of a Kim Jong-un or Vladimir Putin. So thank you, the Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, and the Coast Guard, for everything that you do to keep our country safe.
Yes, thank you. I back that statement. I agree with you. Absolutely. We got to back our military. Yes. Yes. All right. Well, let's get into what we're going to talk about today with the Loveland Frogmen. it started off as the Loveland Frogman, just like Bigfoot was that one Patty, the one Patty video. There was just one. Uh, I think there's a whole bunch of these little frogmen running around Ohio, John. Uh,
Well, I
what
think that there are multiple frogmen for sure.
I think so too. When I looked into it through my remote viewing, I saw a lot of them up there, uh, all over the place. And speaking of military, I usually do stumble across some sort of connection with, black programs, dark programs, our military, and a lot of these cryptids that I investigate. Um, and I always say I'm treading on thin ice talking about this stuff. I believe I am, but of course this is for entertainment purposes only. So um,
Okay, if that's what you say.
that's what I say. Yes, I stand by that. Entertainment purposes only. But okay, so how exactly did you get interested in the frogmen, other than this gentleman wanting to do the conference? And what do you know about the history of the Loveland Frogmen?
Well, the Loveland Frogman is basically a reptile type character. Now, as you know, I've got a book called The Lizard Man Companion, which is coming out. It is edited by John LeMay, who's one of the top paranormal authors in the world. He's a great friend, and he and I are working on several projects. So I've always been interested in cryptids, and especially in the Lizard Man. And then when I found out about the Loveland Frogman, I did a little bit of research. And I've got to tell you, there's not a lot out there on the Loveland Frogman. There are, I think, basically 3 sightings that have been reported. The first one is a traveling salesman was driving through Cincinnati. And now what I did was I did something kind of funny, and I did it on Monday night on the Monday night Scary Cast. I'll kind of repeat it for you and your listeners. It
Okay.
says, "'Twas the night before Christmas, and all through the house not a creature was stirring, not even a mouse. But it was December, Christmas season in 1955." Now I'm going to take a pause here, and I'm going to say there are several versions of this story. Some happen in June, some happen in May, and one happens in December. But it was kind of perfect because we were doing a Christmas show, and I thought it would be great to paraphrase W. Clement Moore's great The Night Before Christmas. I love that poem. It means a lot to me. So it was December, Christmas season in 1955. It was the Branch Hill neighborhood of Cincinnati. That's also called Loveland. Some people refer it to that. And what happened was a traveling salesman was driving on a dark and lonely road, and his headlights saw these 3 statues, or he thought they were statues. They were green, and they weren't exactly statues because they moved. They had the image of a frog at the head, and the body kind of looked like a frog. So it looked like about a 4-foot tall, large frog. And to all, Merry Christmas and good night. That's how this story ends. But he saw them, he was terrified, and he gunned it, and he got out of there. So I think the majority of the stories portray this in April/May/June. But one did December, so I decided, well, we'll take it. We'll use it in December because it is the night before Christmas and all that stuff. So
Well,
that's what
and
happened.
also, well, John, also, when I remote viewed it, I was in the guy's head, okay, and I was seeing what he was seeing, and he was thinking that they were Christmas ornaments, Christmas
Christmas statues.
yard decorations. Yes, he
That
was
is
so
exactly
confused.
right. That is
Yeah.
exactly right. And he said, well, this is great. And then all of a sudden they moved, and he knew that they weren't statues. And that was the terrifying part. That's why he gunned his motor and got out of there. But also, there is one story where one of them has a magic sparkling wand, and
Yes.
brushes it over the others. So now you know a little bit about that part of the story. So why don't you tell us about that?
I do. Well, I gotta say, after I did the remote viewing show on the Loveland Frogmen with my co-host Tex from Texas Front Porch, I remember turning that show off, turning off the live broadcast button, closing my folder, and saying, "I don't think I'm ever going to talk about these things again,"
Now, why?
because it
Why
was
is
so
that?
weird. Because John, but here I am, and because it's so perplexing, and it's really confusing as to what these creatures are. My data was pretty straightforward in the fact that they are an alien species of some sort. However, an alien species can mean that these things are just not from the area. They could just not be native to that region, in some
Okay.
way. Now, I did pick up that they are some sort of a chimera, that they are working in some sort of a black program with our government and our military.
All right.
Which, by the way, our someone in chat, I believe it's Chris Jarvis, had said that. He made a great point, which is true, and I did mention this on my show. Wright-Patterson Air Force Base is right there down the road. I think it's 20 minutes from this place. It's not very far from Loveland, and that's where they took the Roswell bodies, allegedly. Okay.
Well, now I tell you what, I will say that I know where they took the Roswell bodies, and it was not Wright-Patterson. And in fact, I was followed by 2 years by some very odd people because I accidentally found out where they took them. That's a secret that will go with me to my grave. They did not take them to Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. And I can authoritatively say that. Now, a lot of people can't.
Okay.
But I had an experience, and that no, they didn't take them there. Okay.
Okay. That's all we need to know. You know what? That confirms to me there were bodies. Right?
Sure there were. And I've got an interesting story to say. If you don't mind me jumping on
Yes,
this one.
absolutely. We'll go back to the wand after your story. Yes, we'll get to it.
President George Bush, 43, was on the Jay Leno show. And it was a special broadcast to have a former sitting president there on his show. And he asked President Bush, if he could open up the microphone and let people ask him questions. And President Bush said, well, of course, I'd be glad to answer questions. And the first question was from a nice young lady. She looked about college age, and she said, well, President Bush, what can you tell us about the UFO program that the government has? And President Bush said the most amazing statement. He said, I can't discuss that. Now, what he did, if he had said there is no such program, that would have been the end of that. But he said, I can't discuss that. That means there is a program and I can't tell you about it. And I thought, and that just flew all over me. I said, that's the most amazing admission by a former president that I've ever seen. And maybe he made a mistake. Maybe he misspelled potato or something. He was famous for a number of gaffes, but he was a good president.
Wait, that was Dan Quayle, right?
That was Dan Quayle. But here's the deal. President George Bush said, I can't tell you. If there was none, he would say there wasn't one. Therefore, he admitted, maybe by accident, that there was one. So, when you say, well, how they're maybe working with the government and all that, it's not too far from the truth. I don't believe. Now, if I get a knock on my door here, I might have to go answer it. It might be a couple of really tall 6'7" guys in dark suits. And if they do, I'm just going to take this camera with me. But if they don't come,
take
that's
us
okay.
with you.
Okay, I will. So I just wanted to mention that story, if you didn't mind.
Oh, no, absolutely. Well, this is the second time in the past two shows where George Sr. has come up in our data and what we're talking about. The first one was the assassination of JFK. So there's a lot of nefarious goings on here in CIA, those three-letter agency kind of things.
All right, now if you're talking about George Bush and the assassination of JFK, might that have been my show that I was on with you a month ago?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
when we were talking about Project Pegasus and all that fine stuff. Yeah, that was a fun show too. That
It
was a lot
was.
of fun. It was. Yeah, wow. We thank you everybody in chat for being here today. You guys are putting up some great comments today. I do appreciate it. And yes, I have done this show before. I did state that, not this show, but somebody in the chat was like, "You've already done this." Well, you know what? It's worth looking at again and getting different perspectives on this, because this is not a remote viewing show today. This is Dr. John Stamey talking about the Loveland Frogman. Okay, so this is this wand. Okay, let's get to the wand, because
Yes.
when I looked at the wand before, I got tongue tied. Okay, and I tried to say that the wand was shooting flames and sparks together, and I ended up saying it was a fart wand. And so I got made fun of for quite a while on that, because I tried to combine flames and sparks by accident. So it was a flaming sparked wand. Okay, so let's just get that straight, everybody, today. Okay. And so I want to show a picture of what I saw when I was remote viewing this wand. Okay, and this is very similar to what I spoke about when I did a show a couple of weeks ago on the Brown Mountain lights. I did remote view those lights, and this is similar to what I saw around Brown Mountain, and that is these plasma balls that we used to have back in the 1980s and 1990s. We had plasma balls that you could get at Spencer's or Hot Topic or whatever those stores were, and you can put your hands on it, and the electricity, it's like static electricity, I guess, and it goes towards where your hands are wherever you touch it.
Right.
Or you can put your forehead up to it and let it go on your forehead and all that stuff. When you're kids, those things are really fun. But that is like what I saw come out of that wand. It wasn't like sparks like out of a firecracker. It was more of a plasma energy that was emitting from this wand. There was a wand, actually. And what I got from this, it was some sort of weaponry. Okay, I'm going to call it weaponry, but it was something to do with a job. These little frogmen had a job to do, and that was part of their job. Now, could it have been to open a portal or something? Yes, it could have been. But it was something, the electricity that was coming out of it, it was electric, kind of like electricity. It was white hot. But it definitely was more of a plasma energy coming out of that. Now I actually remote viewed just the wand. That was for that. I do believe that these frogmen are part of some sort of program. And I was picking up that it was part of associated with the Montauk Project that our government knowingly was working on in the 1980s. Okay. Now it had to do with time travel, teleportation, mind control, and contact with extraterrestrials. So when it was seen, it was in 1955 when the man saw them with the wand. But if it's involving time travel, Dr. John, you and I both know that if it's a program from the 1980s, it deals with time travel. So yeah, these things could be going throughout time. As we looked into Project Pegasus before.
Right.
So
the 70s and the 80s, I would say.
And also, I have to tell you, I get the connection to a lot of the children's cartoons that we see today when it comes to this frogman situation with the wand, because my son likes the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Okay, they have a device where they travel interdimensionally. It's a time travel device. Okay, it's a container, and it has plasma in it. It looks like plasma of some sort, just like what I saw on that wand. And they travel between dimensions and through time. Okay, so did they base the Ninja Turtles off of the Loveland Frogman? That's my question.
Who knows? They may have, because I know Hollywood they get a pretty good line on things that are going on with the government, and sometimes they do, reality does bleed over into cartoons and television. It really does.
It does. Well, it's a soft disclosure, right?
Okay, yeah, that's right. That's where they are telling us, well, this is really the way it is, but that's okay. We don't want to make too much of a deal of it, because then one day they'll make a big deal of it. Oh, well, we told you that 10 years ago about the in a cartoon. So that's what they're
Mhm.
doing. Your soft
Yeah.
disclosure is exactly right. You're very smart about that, Jessica.
Well, I'm just observant. I observe, and also in shows like Spider-Man and things like that. It's all this interdimensional stuff, and Marvel and Doctor Strange. It's out there. It's right in our faces, and a lot of it is in children's cartoons.
Yes, it is. If you look at Rocky and Bullwinkle, do you remember those old wonderful kids shows?
Yes, I do. Yes.
The Rocky and Bullwinkle was not a kid show. That was a cartoon for adults, and it was all about the Cold War, Boris and Natasha, and it was a lot of fun. And fearless leader. Well, that's what we've got today. I mean, the Cold War has returned with Vladimir Putin, and that's what we've got. And what they did is they made fun of it. They made it palatable for kids, but they also taught us a lesson that the Cold War is around. And here it is. We're watching Rocky and Bullwinkle a couple weeks ago, and it's exactly what we're going through with the Russian-Ukraine war.
Wow. Yeah. Well, it's just all out there. It's putting it out into the collective consciousness, I
It
guess.
is.
But it's interesting how through looking at these things and picking up on certain aspects of the Loveland Frogman and the wand, and it just all sounds so magical and so weird and fantastical. But watching, he has a whole DVD set that he watches in his playroom. Um, that's just like, it's almost like the same story as these Frogmen. If you put all the pieces together. So, and so
Right.
okay. Hey, John, did I freeze up?
Just a little
Hello?
bit. What was the last thing that you said?
Okay. Yes. Okay. So I guess my computer is going to freeze again today. Okay. If I need to, I'm going to
Uh-oh.
switch over to my phone. All right. Okay.
Okay.
So, it was about the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. My son has a DVD set where he'll go in his playroom and watch the Ninja Turtles. And once you start putting the pieces of the puzzles together, John, you see that the story of the Ninja Turtles with them time traveling is the same as the Loveland Frogmen. So instead of the Frogmen, they made them into Turtle Men to put it out into the public. Who would ever believe that there are time traveling turtle men? I'm not turtle men, frogmen, used for some sort of
Don't,
teleportation
don't, don't
program.
don't even ask, Jessica. Don't even ask that question. Who would believe that? I mean, nobody would believe it, but maybe there are. Definitely, maybe there are.
Yeah, I think there are. I think there are. According to my data, there are. I mean, I didn't know what the Loveland Frogman was when I remote viewed this, and I looked at it from four different angles, four different targets, and they are very real. And what adds some credence to it, some credibility, police officers encountered these frogmen. Okay, so there were policemen that actually had reported seeing them on several occasions. Now, one of the reports was kind of taken back because I think maybe the chief of the police station didn't want the story out, and he said, "Oh, I had shot an iguana, I shot the tail off an iguana," and that's what people were seeing. Does that?
Right, a
Yeah.
tail off an iguana. Hmm.
Yes. Yeah.
Right.
So they walked that story back. but but still it lends a little credibility to the story of these sightings when there are very credible people like law enforcement officers that are seeing these creatures, just like with Bigfoot, Dogman, all these other cryptids that we look into. um, they are people in the military, people in law enforcement, they're trained to observe and to see things and to really take account of what they're looking at.
Well, that they are, but I want to make a little story here. Something that I've noticed in two places. Number one, when I investigated the Bishopville Lee County Lizard Man, I wanted to take a look at the police files. They're gone. There are no police
Oh,
files for all 14 of those sightings. So in my book, The Lizard
really?
Man Companion, what I had to do is I had to go to the newspaper, and ask if I could reprint the newspaper articles. So they were kind enough to let me do that. the Camden Independent, which owns the Lee County Observer. They let me do that. So yeah, you got that. And then I go over to Sumter, South Carolina. Christopher Davis was the first person that had a lizard man sighting. Do you think I can get the details of his death? Do you think I can get those files? What's your guess, Jessica?
Well, they're not there, or you're going to have to pay a lot of money for it.
I'm going to have to pay like $5,000 to get a copy of those 15 pages. So basically,
Wow.
they're blocking and making sure that I can't get them. All right, now let's go up to Tabor City, North Carolina. In 1973, and this is in my book, Look Up in the Sky, Aliens, UFOs, and Anomalies, 3rd edition, there was a report that space aliens showed up in a trailer park for about a week. Wow, interesting. So I go to the police chief, and he says, we don't have those. We don't have those police reports. I said, well, why not? Now, actually, he's a good friend of mine, but I find it a little curious. He said, well, John, we had a flood and those documents were destroyed. Okay.
Destroyed.
So records were destroyed.
Destroyed by who? Yeah. And why?
I'm just telling you what he said. Now, he's a friend of mine, and he's been very helpful in my investigation. But I get this from the police chief. Now, not just somebody off the street or somebody at the newspaper. The documents were destroyed in a flood. Now, Tabor City is about 50 miles inland from Myrtle Beach. Jessica, flood? Yeah. Explain the flood. It's not anywhere near the Lumber River, which does flood. You know, the Lumber River being about 100 miles.
Maybe they had a plumbing backup and a toilet flooded the office.
Maybe. Okay, whatever. I'm just going to say I don't know, but it seems as though every time there are police reports that really explain sightings of cryptids or UFOs, they seem to come up missing. They just do. My goodness.
Well, it's just like those giant bodies that the Smithsonian took and put away somewhere, right? All the giant
skeletons. They're doing research on them. That's right. They're doing research on them. Where?
Oh, I thought they just disappeared.
No, they said they were taking them to do research. And I have a friend, Aaron Judkins, Dr. Aaron Judkins. He's an EMS practitioner down there in Texas, but he also writes books on basically cryptozoology. And he has seen the large skeletons in the caves near Las Vegas. Then one day, the Smithsonian Institute came by and took them. They said they were going to do research on them. Have we ever seen them or heard from them again? Of course not. Everything seems to vanish.
It vanishes. It does. Well, you know what? And so there are people. I've talked to maybe a person or two who claim to maybe have skeletons, giants, or know where they are at least. And I'll be darned if they're going to tell anybody where they are, you know, because they will be taken. They will be taken. And so you got to think about stuff like that. It's just like when people ask, where's a Sasquatch body? Where is a Sasquatch body? Well, I've been told by more than one person that they know where Sasquatch bodies are buried and things like that. But they're not going to tell anybody because what's the point? You're just going to come get them.
That's right. And then, of course, 1948, Roswell. There was a ton of wreckage. Now, first of all, there's not a ton of wreckage from a weather balloon incident, number one. It just doesn't happen. But then there was a lot of wreckage. And all of a sudden it was cleaned up and it was spirited away and it's gone. Where'd it go? The wreckage probably did go to Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, but not some of the biological references.
Specimens?
Yeah, we'll call them references. Well, yeah, but I'll just say, you know, they went somewhere else. And I'm sitting here in my head and I know exactly where they went, but I can't tell.
Okay.
So, because
I have telepathy. You can tell me. Think about it. Just kidding.
No, I won't. I won't tell. I think we'll.
I won't
Let's
say anything.
let's just not
I'm not gonna
talk.
say it out
What
loud.
I'm saying is, every time there's some juicy, good information, it seems to come up missing. Aurora, Texas, 1897, a UFO crash. Okay, well, it was
Yes.
said that all of the artifacts were thrown down a well on Judge Proctor's farm. So they go, they check in the well, there's nothing there. That story was all over the newspaper in Texas. Yes, it happened. Absolutely,
Yeah.
it happened.
Well, I
Well,
think that's the case of where they had a body that was actually buried, perhaps in a cemetery with a marked grave. Is that the right story?
yes, that is the correct
Okay.
story. And then all of a sudden, one day, somebody goes out to that gravestone, and something had been dug up. It had been. It was gone.
Well, okay, my friend Katie Page, she's the director of Colorado MUFON. She has done some research on this case. I'm pretty sure this is one of the cases that she's been on, and she has a video of the coroner who may or may not have autopsied that alien body. Yeah. So, anyways, there's a lot behind that story, and I hope that she's writing a book and will release all that
Okay. Okay. All
soon.
right. All right. Let me fill you in on two things. First of all, I did a podcast on the 125th anniversary of the Aurora crash. And that podcast has never seen the light of day.
Oh, really?
It has gone
Well,
missing. So I call the newspaper which did
oh,
it,
really?
and the two people that did that podcast don't seem to be available to talk to me. Isn't that amazing?
It's not surprising. It's not surprising.
Because
Yeah.
I might have said a few things that I shouldn't have. I do that frequently. And people
Yeah.
like Andy Basiago goes missing. I can't talk to him. It's like the guys at the newspaper.
Oh,
They
that's the
go
guy from
missing.
yeah,
Yeah,
Basiago is the guy that was part of Project Pegasus, who
that's
actually
right.
he claims to be the child that's in that picture at the Gettysburg Address with the large shoes on in the crowd. He says that that's him as a
I mean,
kid.
I don't know if it's him or not, but I wouldn't doubt it. And but so what I'm saying is, in fact, you know what, Jessica? I had a
Mhm.
thought. I had one of my thoughts that sometimes gets me in trouble. Can I go ahead and tell you that thought right now?
Yes, please do.
Okay, it's time to write a book on all these stories that I've just talked about. And it's going to be called Missing. How information goes missing about the lizard man, about everything. It just goes missing. So I think, because this, so that, I mean, I'm not writing these notes down, but let me ask you this. This podcast is up there permanently, right?
My podcast,
Mhm.
absolutely. It's
Unless it
not
goes
going
missing.
anywhere, and not
Unless it
not
goes
not
missing.
because of me.
Okay.
I'm not taking it down.
Well, I'm going to go back and I'm going to jot down these stories because I think, and I'm going to talk to John LeMay because this is something John LeMay might be interested in. He's always interested in creepy stuff. There's too much stuff that's gone missing. So we might just turn this
Missing.
into right, gone missing. And I think that's the title of the book.
Yeah.
And I think we might just do a book called Gone Missing about how information just vanishes.
Okay, well that actually reminds me of something. So when you were
Ooh.
saying that when you were asking for information from the police department or whatever department that was you went to get information, and they said they were going to charge you thousands of dollars
Mhm.
for some of those reports. David Politis, the author of the Missing 411 series, he was told that they were going to charge him like millions of dollars or something absolutely outrageous to get the information on missing people in our national parks across the United States. Now, there's a vested interest on not letting that information get out,
Well,
apparently.
there is, and now, Jessica, it's very strange that you mentioned the national parks and David Politis because I
Hmm.
just saw like a commercial or something, or a little bit of a documentary for that this morning. It's just kind of crazy that you mentioned that, and it's
Okay.
like they say, well, they don't want us to tell what went on. I mean, I'm not talking about national parks. I'm talking about police reports and bodies and bones that seem to be just gone. So
Hmm.
anyway, maybe there was a reason we did this, and it was for me to come up with that idea. And I'm going to re-listen to this, and I'm going to jot down the various topics. There was one more, I can't remember what it is, but there's a lot of stuff that is just turned up missing. And I think it'd be good to at least review that and review the legend and lore behind those topics. Does that seem good?
It does. Now, are you saying that there's method in our madness? Method in our madness. So, yes, there is a reason that we're doing this show today. There's multiple reasons.
Well, and by the way, okay, I've got this buddy of mine here in Myrtle Beach named Ethan. Ethan's a really smart guy. He works at Office Depot, and he helps me on some technology stuff because sometimes, believe it or not, I get so busy that I can't get things done. I can figure stuff out, but I mean, it's like time is the enemy here. And so I talked with him about the reticular activating system. And do you mind if I digress for 5 minutes? Because I think this is interesting. So yesterday, I'm a bad guy when I drive. Do you know what I do when I drive? I mess with my phone. I'm taking care of the whole infrastructure inside my car. And so my phone fell out of my hand.
Watch out now. Oh my gosh.
That's right. So get on 544 with Dr. John there. So my phone dropped on the floor, and so I'm picking it up, and I realize, John, you're not looking at that's traffic.
It's so
anyway, so what happened was all of a sudden I turned my car to the right, and I wasn't even looking at the road. I just got up there, and I narrowly missed a truck that had veered over into my lane, and without seeing it, I veered away from it. Now, let me tell you what that was, okay? In our brain, we have something called the reticular activating system. It's about the size of a pencil, and it's in the back of our head. Mm-hmm. And what it does is we are subject to about 2 billion bits of information every second because our senses pick it up. But what keeps us from going crazy because we can't handle 2 billion bits of information? It's the reticular activating system. It blocks out things until we really need it. And so obviously my senses felt, that a truck was edging over into my lane, and I automatically turned, and I didn't even know why I did. And I realized, oh my God, what did I just do? And then I just narrowly missed having a wreck. Truck was going about 50 miles an hour, and I'd have been a goner. Jessica, I wouldn't have been on your show. So
I'm glad you're here today. You sound like that sounds like a hot mess out there, John. You better be careful.
I will. And so that always gets me really, really, really excited about doing things the right way and not looking around and all this and keeping my attention on the road. Well, what happened is I said, okay, how did I do that? Was that a psychic moment? And I realized, no, it was not. It was my reticular activating system. It heard noise from that truck coming at me. Mm-hmm. I think it was my hearing that did it. And all of a sudden it picked it up and it guided my body to move a little bit to the right and miss that truck. So what I can say is that I now have evidence of 2 different modes of, quote, psychic ability. One is when our senses pick up things, and that's not really psychic, although maybe it is, because our brain understands it and it acts on it, and it's not something that we consciously do. So that's one thing. And then the other one is when we pick up thoughts, vibrations, and everything basically through the air. Okay? Mm-hmm. So I was telling that to my buddy Ethan yesterday. We're sitting in his garage, and he was busy cleaning up. And I told him about that. He said, well, John, I saw, and I don't know if I can find it or not, I saw a study from this place called the Ryan Research Institute where they had somebody manipulate something on a computer screen. They made it go down and they made it go up. And they measured where did that come from, and it came from the subject's right-hand side of their brain. And I got to tell you the funniest thing. I said, is that study by John Palmer and Richard Broughton about me? He said, what? And I told him about the experiment that they did with me up there at the Ryan Institute. And he said, oh my God, that was an experiment about you. It was so It
What
was
a
so
small
fun.
world.
It is a small world, and so it's just it was like it was right after my mom died, and I'd always wanted to go to the Ryan Research Institute, so I did, and I got involved in that kind of stuff, and so I ended up when I got my doctorate, I was a research associate at the Ryan Institute, and it all started when I went up there, and they said, "You want to get hooked up and do this experiment?" And I said, "Sure, why not?" I never knew where it would lead, but it's so funny. Ethan's telling me all about this great study. I said, "Well, I was the subject of the study, Ethan. So just go on, man." So
You're
anyway,
famous. You're famous in many ways, Dr.
I am
John.
I am not
You
famous.
are well known.
No, here's the deal.
Yeah.
I have had a $1 billion life. I have had the most wonderful experiences in the world, and that's all I can say. But yeah, it was so funny. He's parroting a study, and I'm in the study. I'm the guy that
And
they were
you're the
talking about.
study.
Yeah,
You know what? And you're just in the right place at the right time a lot of times too.
I think
But
I
that's
am.
also how you get you have a lot of work to do. And I know you got a lot of work to do this Christmas and over the holiday because you've got so many conferences, so many books to write. And you are just you're one of the world's most amazing men, okay? Because you do a whole lot of good stuff.
Well,
A
I
lot of
don't know
fun
about
stuff.
that, but I enjoy. Look, I enjoy what I do. I am still a researcher. I mean, I learned research at North Carolina State
Yeah.
University, and I still research all the time, and I question a lot what's going on. And I think that's the hallmark of a researcher is questioning, well, why is this happening? And then all of a sudden, I get this idea. I've named 5, 6, or 7 different instances when information is gone missing, and nobody's ever written a book about that.
Yeah.
And I was just jotting down a couple more. There's a lot of instances where information seems to go. It's
It
missing. We don't
does.
know who it is. And so and at the end of each chapter, there'll just be a big question mark, like the chance card in Monopoly. It's like, where did it go? Where did the
Yeah.
information go? So, it is interesting. And I'm sure that book is going to make a lot of people mad, but I don't care. I think it'll be
It's okay. It's okay. We don't my focus lately has been on uncovering things that it's not missing information that has been scrubbed. It's stuff that we never knew before. It's been hidden from us, period. And so I actually spent this morning doing remote viewing targets for Barry Littleton, who people are talking about him in the chat right now. He's a good friend of mine. He sent me, I think it was 3 different blind targets that I had no idea what it was. I'm actually doing a show on one of them tomorrow night. It's going to be on weaponized portals, Dr. John. Portals. And I knew that I was dealing with something on the sun. I mean, this is going to be something that I could get in trouble for talking about. So I've got to be very careful about this.
You're not going to be in any more trouble than I am. Barry
No more
Littleton.
trouble I'm already in.
Are you talking about
Right.
Barry Littleton?
Barry Littleton, yes. He's coming on my show.
He's been on Scary Cast.
That's right. That's right. He has. He did an awesome job on that.
We've had all kinds of people on Scary Cast, and it's just so much fun. That's why I do it. I mean, we don't get paid for it, but Robin, Trey, and Kyler and Devin, we just do it because it's fun. We like trying to uncover what's going on, and my co-hosts really do ask good questions, so it's a lot of fun. And we were glad to have you on last night. And then Matt comes on talking about the dungeon in
the dungeon
New Orleans,
and vampires. Yes.
And I told him what's interesting is I have a friend named Colin, and he is trying to find exactly that location. He's up in Indianapolis, and Matt was telling me something last night before. It was about an hour before the show, and I said, Matt, you can't tell that story. You cannot tell that story on the show. That's just too sensitive. And I've got to go down myself, and maybe you can go down with us, but we've got to go down there, and I've got to get in there and start meeting those people at the dungeon.
Did you just invite me to a dungeon?
Dungeon.
I don't know if I feel comfortable going into a dungeon, especially with Matt Delph. I'm just kidding.
It's the great vampire hangout in New Orleans
with the vampires. I love you, Matt. I was kidding. Okay.
I mean, this is like, what more can you say? I mean, and he is certainly the Scary Cast. He's the special agent that goes a lot of places, and he has so many great stories. He really does, and he, what I like about Matt is he rubs people the wrong way. That means he's doing a good job.
That's right. I don't think he rubs. I hadn't met too many people he's rubbed the wrong way. We have a lot of fun together.
Honey,
He's a great
I
reporter.
I have met some people that he has rubbed the wrong way. I just don't mention it, and I just kind of laugh because it's okay. Matt's just out there. He's doing boots on the ground. That's what he does. And I can't really say anything about what he finds because it's pretty accurate. So anyway,
Yeah.
it's fun,
Yes.
and we all I'll say this because I don't think you get paid very much for this. I don't get paid very much for any of the scary cast.
Like zero.
But isn't it fun? Don't we have $1 billion life doing all of this?
Yes. We're rich in spirit.
We are, and
I like to say that I'm rich in spirit. Okay. So
and I'm
that's what counts, right?
And I'm gonna tell you where I want us to go.
Okay.
Because I saw a show this weekend about Bobby Mackey's Music World. Bobby Mackey.
That place, yeah, is actually the first episode of Ghost Adventures that I watched was about Bobby Mackey's, and I got hooked on that show because it was so creepy and I've always been fascinated with that place, but it's such a dark energy there though, John. I don't know, I'd have to definitely surround myself in the white light before I walked in that sucker.
Well, here's what I think. I think they were talking about it, and I'm not going to mention the thing that I heard, but all of a sudden it might have clarified what goes on at Bobby Mackey's Music World. It might be it's creepy and it's not good, but it's become fairly transparent to me what was going on. I'll discuss it with you later offline, and I think it's not good, okay? But I think it's very straightforward what is happening there, and I don't think it's the devil. I think it's displaced spirits. I don't think it's
absolutely.
The devil. And so I'll tell you more about it. I mean, that might be another.
We'll do a show on it. How about that?
Well, we might have to go now. Now, where is that? Is that in Kentucky or Ohio?
I think it's in Kentucky. Yeah, it's either. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's Kentucky.
Yeah,
bluegrass state.
We need to. Yeah,
or it could be West Virginia. I don't know. If somebody knows in the comments, I'll leave it.
I know it's not in West Virginia because there's lots of other stuff in West Virginia. West Virginia's crazy, but I think I think maybe we could go up there. We could do a trip and we could go to Bobby Mackey's, and then we could go down to New Orleans.
Okay.
Have them come up to Bobby Mackey's with us and have them go down to the dungeon, and we can see what's going on, because I think how can I put it? As we investigate, things become clearer. Don't you believe that?
Yes, I can agree with that statement.
And it's like they almost made a mistake on that. It was the black gentleman that had that investigative show on Travel Channel. What is that called?
Oh, the Ghost Brothers.
The Ghost Brothers.
They're
now,
awesome. Yeah,
no,
those guys are fun.
It's not. No, I mean absolutely. They're incredible. And what they did was they did something that I tend to do. They got the original authority, like they went up to where that little farmhouse where the conjuring happened. And what they did was they got the lady that lived there. And she actually told everybody on camera what did and did not happen, that agreed and disagreed with the movie and with the book. And I thought that was really cool that they clarified a lot of this stuff. And then they went up to Bobby Mackey's, and one of them made a statement that just clarified everything. So it is not the devil. It is spirits of people who have been killed there by the mob. And
that'll do it.
A massive amount of people that were killed. Right. And then I've got a buddy in Memphis. His name is Maverick. Love Maverick. We talk all the time on the internet, on Messenger. And Maverick took me to one of the most amazing places. He took me in Johnson City, Tennessee, to a place called Montrose Court Apartments. Well, Montrose Court used to be owned by a very kind, nice gentleman named Al Capone.
Very kind, nice gentleman.
That's right. And he had a speakeasy down there in the basement.
Hmm.
and we went down there. Then I got. Do you know Tony Pelosi?
I do not.
Okay, he's a pretty good ghost adventurer from up in West Virginia, and he came down with me when we did it a second time. And he brought some equipment, and he corroborated with me that there was some strange stuff down there. And what it is there's some bodies that are buried inside of the walls.
Yeah, I bet in the concrete and all that stuff. I mean, not that I would
Uh-huh.
know. I'm just
Well,
saying.
no, I mean, and he kind of corroborated that, and I said, Tony,
Yeah.
there are dead people all around here, and he said, yes, there are, John.
Yeah. And Amy has a good point. Bobby Mackey's was actually a slaughterhouse back in the day. And so, and they call it the gateway to hell. There's actually a well there, and it's in Wilder, Kentucky. I just looked it up. It's in Wilder, Kentucky.
Okay.
There was a well there, and the story was that I think a woman was decapitated, and her head and her body were thrown down in this well. And yeah, it's there's a very dark history of that place. And now there's a place in Atlanta where I had some friends who lived in an apartment, a loft. We called it the U-Haul lofts back in the day, and they used to have late night parties and stuff. We used to go hang out and have fun. And this place was formerly a slaughterhouse. Okay, and so that place had horrible, scary vibes. I did not like going there.
Right.
But in downtown Atlanta,
I think the slaughterhouse is probably not the issue at Bobby Mackey's. I'll fill you in on that one. But yeah,
okay,
they accidentally mentioned, I think, the key to the Golden City there when they were doing some of their commentary. But yeah, those guys are really, really good. They have a great show. I enjoyed it. I went to see my friends this past weekend, and we spent like 6 hours watching those shows. It was a lot of fun. It really is.
yeah.
And
Well, I
again,
enjoy ghost shows. I do.
it's research, and you're just sitting there looking for clues that people might have overlooked, and that's what I do. And I found one, and I think I might shed some light on Bobby Mackey's, but it's not a good place. It's not a happy place. Mr. Rogers does not stay at Bobby Mackey's. How's that?
Okay, good. No, I wouldn't either. I would never stay there. I don't even know if I want to go there, to be honest. Um, I, you know, okay, so let's get back to the Loveland Frogmen real quick
Okay.
before we close this out today, because we've kind of gone all over the place, and it's been a lovely ride. I love divine detours, but these amphibious inhumanoids is what I like to call them. And these are not the only amphibious humanoids. There are others across the world. I think the ninjin is what they're called. There's something similar. They're not frogmen, but something up in Japan or Antarctica. There's different amphibious humanoids, but today I kind of figured we'd focus on the Loveland Frogmen. What is something that you found out about these frogmen in your research when you were researching these that surprised you, or you had no idea about? What's something that maybe we don't know about them that you know?
Well, what surprised me is that all of a sudden they vanished. They haven't been seen for like 30 years. And that's kind of like the Brown Mountain Lights. Brown Mountain Lights were, I'm from Burke County, North Carolina, where Brown Mountain is. And the Brown Mountain Lights, back when I was in high school, they vanished. Now they've started coming back. So what's interesting is like the Loveland Frogmen, they're basically tales from the past. They're from 1955 and from the mid 1970s, and they're gone, but they're still around, I think. And
Yeah.
it won't be long until one day people are going to see them. So I mean, it's interesting how things kind of come and go in this paranormal world. That's what I've been
Yeah.
seeing.
It is weird. It's kind of like coming in and out of the consciousness or the collective consciousness, or coming and going. Barry Littleton and I have talked about that before, how some phenomenon will show up for a while and then it just disappears off the map. Sometimes it comes back, sometimes it doesn't. And that's in relation to a lot of these cryptids. Just like with the Loveland Frogmen. I mean, there has not been a sighting since, I think it was 2016, when a couple was playing Pokemon Go, allegedly, and claims to have seen a frogman. And I believe, I'll be honest with you, let's see, let me pull these up. Thank you all for those comments. Y'all are so sweet today. We're so sweet, everybody in chat. I believe that this is the picture allegedly that they took from I think this is a still shot from a video, if I'm not mistaken. Now, don't quote me on this. I'm not 100%, but I think this is from the video that they took. But this thing had not been seen. And here's some other pictures. Let's just show these pictures since
Okay,
I
great.
uploaded them. We might as well show them.
Right.
These are renditions. They're not actual pictures. Okay. Artist renditions. This is, but back in the 1955, and then in the 1970s, there were at least 2 other sightings by police officers. So yeah, he's, yeah. So it's odd. You know, these little things are very odd. And then here's this one. I don't know what this is. That allegedly is a frogman, but I don't know. Okay. You know, for people to say that there could have been an iguana with its tail cut off, what are the odds of an iguana being a gigantic iguana running around Loveland, Ohio?
The odds are 0.
Okay.
Just let's face it, the odds are 0. That's not
yeah.
That's an iguana. Okay. That's an iguana, and I've got an iguana for a doorknob. Come on. It just doesn't work like that.
Yeah. Well, I don't think the environment suits an iguana. First of all, you know, I had a pet snake back when I was younger, and they love the warmth. They don't like the cold. Okay. My boa constrictor did not like the cold weather. I know that's a reptile. But when I was remote viewing this, I was coming up that these are chimeras of some sort, and it was a mix between an amphibian and a reptile. And I know that sounds weird. However, we don't know what kind of experiments our government and these black programs are doing. And I was getting alien, so it could be from some other planet. It could be just some weird God knows what. Okay, these little Loveland Frogmen, but I just don't think an iguana would be running around in cold weather with its tail cut off.
Absolutely not.
Okay, so I'm not crazy. You agree with me, right?
Absolutely.
Okay. Yeah. Well, this has been a lot of fun, John. This has been a lot of fun. And so tell everybody once again about your conference coming up and exactly where it's going to be and all that kind of stuff. And I know I'll have you back on here before your conference, I'm sure.
Well, thank you very much, because we want you to come and speak and see if you can get that arranged. It's the Loveland Frogman Festival, and go to lovelandfrogmanfestival.com. Over Christmas weekend, I'm going to put up tickets for sale. It's going to be a great wolf lodge in Cincinnati. We got over 50 vendors. We got a lot of people coming. We got a lot of interesting folks. I'm going to be there. I don't know that I'm interesting, but I like to have fun. And so it's
You're interesting.
We're going to have good speakers, good vendors, and it's going to be great. You can come get a map in black. That's the 4-foot by 3-foot map from Jeff Craig. It has all the paranormal spots that he could find. Clumped onto one large map of the United States. It's we're going to have fun. And that's the most important thing when I'm running Comic-Cons and I'm involved in festivals. The whole deal is we need to have fun. It's educational. And I'll close my part with a short story. When I was out promoting the Lizard Man Festival in Sumter, South Carolina, I was at the Iris Festival. And I was passing out flyers, and this lady came by, and she's a teacher, Sumter County Schools. She said, "This is great." I said, "So you know about the Lizard Man?" She says, "Let me tell you what I believe about the Lizard Man." I said, "Okay." She said, "I don't care whether a student believes about the Lizard Man or doesn't believe about the Lizard Man, but the Lizard Man in Sumter and Lee County is part of their heritage. And if you don't know at least what it's about when you graduate from high school, you have cheated yourself out of unnecessary education of knowing about where you live. And so anybody in Cincinnati needs to know at least what is the Loveland Frogman and the story of the traveling salesman driving by. It's part of our culture. It's part of our history. It's part of the folklore, and it's very important to our culture. So I'll just say this to everybody listening, because I know you got a lot of wonderful people. Explore the great legends of your town, your county, and your state. It will make you a much richer person to know what has gone on, whether you believe it or not. It's like learn your local legends. And Jessica, I'm gonna put words in your mouth. I'm gonna say, I'll bet you agree with that, don't you?
100%. I do. I think it's so important to learn your local legends and lore. And I mean, that's what my team goes out and looks for in an area is the local legends and lore, because that's where all the Bigfoot are going to be. That's where the ghosts are, where all the dogmen and aliens, all the high strangeness is where the stories originate of these local legends and lore. Yeah.
I was talking to somebody that called me up off my Scarycast site. First thing he says, well, now we were at Central States Penitentiary. Now, you know where that is? I said, of course I know where Central States is. I know the legends and lore in that area. And it was kind of satisfying to me that I knew about Central States. I've been there. It's scary. It's creepy as all get out. But, it's like learn your legends and lore. It's part of history. It's part of your life. And don't spend all of your time texting and on Facebook and on Instagram and on Twitter and all that. Get out and explore these great legends like the Civil War cemetery in Florence, South Carolina, which is terrifying. Go there if you're
there.
I mean, it's just part of your heritage, and learn about your heritage. I think it's wonderful. That's all I got to say. And Jessica, I'm going to close down my part and say you're a wonderful person, and thank you so much for having me. And I come up on here and I really have fun. I thank God I don't have to be a host.
Oh, I love it. It's my favorite thing. I just absolutely love it. I also like being a guest too. So anytime you need me back on Scarycast, I'll be there. Now, what nights do you broadcast Scarycast podcasts on Blog Talk Radio, John?
Okay. So what you do is you go to scarycastpodcast.com. Monday night is the original Scarycast. Tuesday night, me and Matt Delph have Scarycast Tuesday. Wednesday night is Pop Culture Stars with me and Dave Atwell. And starting this Thursday is Old School Horror Films. And it's going to be a lot of fun. And we got 4 nights a week, and it's a blast. As I told somebody, it keeps me off the streets, out of trouble, and it makes me do my homework.
Well, that's awesome. And you do your homework. That's what I love. I love that about you. You do your homework. Not everybody researches as much as you do. And, I'm one that likes to research too. So I can appreciate that. Okay.
I know you do, because you have a lot of facts at the tip of your tongue. And that's what a good researcher does.
Yes. Well, I've got to. Yes. Okay. I don't want to look that. I'm already looked at as crazy. I might as well at least know what I'm talking about if I'm going to be crazy.
You're crazy cool is what
crazy cool, crazy awesome. Yes, yes, we are. Cool. Yes, we are. And everybody, thank y'all for tuning in today. Y'all are crazy awesome. I hope everyone has a fantastic Christmas, whatever holiday you celebrate. I hope you guys have a wonderful Christmas, a happy new year. I will be back tomorrow night, actually, here at the Cryptid Huntress on YouTube with Barry Littleton. We're going to be talking about weaponized portals, something that I remote viewed, a blind target for Barry. It's going to be really, really awesome. So please tune in tomorrow night. It may or may not be live, but I will be in the chat if we do have to record that one. I'll be there tomorrow night. So, Dr. John, thank you so much for being here. It's always a pleasure. I hope you have a wonderful Christmas and a very happy New Year. And I will see you back here hopefully next year, which is in a couple weeks sometime.
I hope so. Thank you.
Okay. Well, everybody have a wonderful holiday. I will see y'all tomorrow night. Y'all stay glitchy out there. Be the glitch in the matrix, y'all. Okay. We'll see y'all soon. Bye. Bye.